I apologize. Let me be clear on where we are. Last time we didn't have Capitol Police or Georgia State Patrol. We do this time. I just want to be. Let's keep this respectful. Please, no clapping or cheering or outbursts relating to that. Let's be civil to each other and respectful to each other. So, thank you very much. I apologize for having to say that. So let me be clear on this also. Monitoring and rehabilitation has nothing to do with ankle monitors, has nothing to do with any devices worn here. And I will tell you what it does do. It has to do with substance abuse and disorder, or substance abuse disorder. It has to do with peeing in a cup. And that's what we do. When physicians, veterinarians, or dentists have a substance abuse disorder, that is part of the monitoring program. And personally, as a physician, I've taken care of people in the PHP program, and that's what they do. Sometimes they do it daily, sometimes they do it weekly. Usually it's over a 5-year period, and then they may graduate out of it or they may not. If they don't do the 5 years, generally, remember it takes about a year or so for people's brains to get closer to normal after you've been in a substance abuse disorder. So monitored very closely. No ankle monitors, no devices, nothing like that. Been going on since the 1970s. So Hank Sullivan and Shannon Weimer, and then Paul Hershey after that.
I appreciate the opportunity. Before I start, I wonder if the chairman would read me the definition of the term monitor from the bill.
You know, this is, again, taken from the 1970s. It's what we're doing for that.
Well, I'm asking for the term to be defined here in this bill.
This bill is not defined. It is practiced in law since 1970.
Well,
I'm not going to argue with you, but if you can certainly.
Then I don't see that any of this has changed, because the bill only uses a loose term that we're supposed to interpret. And if we don't interpret and you don't interpret, then that's going to leave Mr. Tanner's department to do the interpreting. So we don't know what that really means, and I suggest that it would be a good thing for the board to interpret that for us in writing in the law, because unless you do, it can mean anything that the department in charge of administering this can interpret it to mean. So that said, I don't see that anything that I've come to say here has changed. So here's some questions that I want to pose before the board. Does HB520 require GPS and biometric monitoring of possibly thousands of individuals across the state of Georgia? I say that it can. Does HB520 sponsor own a patent on GPS and biometric monitoring? Yes. Does HB520 sponsor operate a company whose sole business is to market and service his patented device? Yes. Does HB520 sponsor have equity partners in his company? Yes.
You know, I got you. I see where you're going with this, and to be honest with you, I didn't really appreciate what you were saying about the sponsor. I did explain that the monitor, what we did, what impaired physicians, dentists, and veterinarians do with their monitoring. There is no monitoring of devices at all. It's never been going on.
And there's no definition here.
It's not being done.
What would be the objection to defining the term in the bill?
Listen, I got it. I understand that. We'll consider it. I appreciate that. But I don't want a misinterpretation of the sponsor of the bill to think that what is going on now with substance abuse, drug disorder, and what we call, peeing in a cup, and there has never been any monitoring from that perspective when it comes to impaired physicians, veterinarians, dentists, and so forth.
Does the law preclude the word monitoring to mean that?
You know,
it can be interpreted. That's my point.
I guess
it can be interpreted to mean anything.
It's not being done, and we plan to. The plan is the same kind of program that's being done now.
With
I got it.
respect.
Okay, all right.
With
But
respect.
if you don't mind, just please don't use the author in this, because the intent is not there by any means. I see what your intent.
Thank you.
Okay.